afternoon and welcome to this press conference after the informal meeting of finance and economic ministers here in Tallinn. First, Finance Minister of Estonia, Toomas Tõniste, will present the results of the meeting, followed by Dmitri, Jegorov, who is the Secretary General for Tax and Customs, to explain also the second session that was focusing on customs. And I will then give the floor to Valdis Dombrovskis, who is the Vice President of the Commission. So with and I should also mention that you have earphones for interpretation in the corner. The Minister will speak in Estonian. And for those who are cold, because there's a lot of air conditioning, there's also blankets available to put over your feet or your legs if you want to.
Maybe one could switch.
I'll give you a second just to get the earphones in place before we start. Yes. Okay, Minister, I think you can start. Yeah. The floor is yours.
Tere, head ajakirjanikud. ECOFIN-i teine tööpäev on läbi saanud. Eestile on see eriti oluline päevakorras. Oli meil siis 2 punkti digitaalsest agendast, mis on meie Euroopa Liidu Nõukogu eesistumise prioriteet. Esmalt rääkisime digitaalse majanduse maksustamisest. See on tähtis meie eesistumise kontekstis, kuid väga oluline kogu Euroopa Liidule ja tegelikult ka kogu maailmale. Meie eesmärk on jõuda ühise arusaamiseni, kuidas üha kiiremini arenevat digimajanduse sektorit maksustamisel käsitleda. Mõnest eriarvamusest hoolimata jõudsime mitme ühise arusaamiseni. Oleme nõus, et digimajanduse õiglaseks maksustamiseks on vaja koos edasi liikuda. Sõna võtnud riikidest mitte ükski ei olnud vastu sellele, et digimajanduse maksustamine tuleb lahendada. Kõik nõustusid, et probleem on olemas. Valdav enamus riike pooldab Eesti pakutud pikaajalist lahendust. Tuletan meelde, et see puudutab virtuaalset püsivat tegevuskohta. Digitaalsel ettevõttel ei peaks selle ettepaneku järgi olema riigis varasid ega füüsilist kohalolekut, et seda maksustada saaks. Aga see lahendus peab olema globaalne ja sündima koostöös OECD-ga. Samas peab arvestama, et üle poole liikmesriikidest pooldas ka lühiajalist lahendust. Selle pakkusid välja Prantsusmaa, Saksamaa, Hispaania ja Itaalia. OECD peasekretär kinnitas, et ta sai riikide murest aru. Palusime liikmesriikide ekspertidel, aga ka komisjonilt töötada lahenduste mõlema suunaga, nii lühiajalise kui ka pikaajalise lahendusega. Palusime esitada töö tulemus, et ministrid saaksid arutada seda detsembri ECOFINil. Seejärel rääkisime tolli IT-arenduste tsentraliseerimise vajadusest. Praegu kuulutame pessimistlikul hinnangul kõik Euroopas kokku peaaegu 2 miljardit eurot IT-arendustele. Aga teised võimalused tähendavad, et me saaksime seda teha mõistlikuma kuluga ja efektiivsemalt. See võiks olla odavam nii ettevõtjatele kui ka avalikule sektorile. Arendusi võiks võimalusel tsentraliseerida koordineeritult. Nii hoiame kokku raha ja samuti tagame, et tolliseadustikku täidetakse kõikjal ühtemoodi. Ministrid nõustusid, et efektiivsust tuleb tõsta ja kulusid säästa. Ekspertidel tuleb edasi töötada viiside kallal, kuidas seda teha. Ministrid kinnitasid ka, et nad pooldavad pilootprojekti. Nii saame kõige paremini teada, mis on suurema tsentraliseerimise võimalikud riskid. Ja lõpetuseks tahan veel kord kõiki oma kolleege südamest tänada nende sisuliste ja konstruktiivsete arutelude eest. Aitäh!
Thank you, Minister. Dmitri, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. First and foremost, I'd like to thank, of course, all the member states, the Commission, and the OECD for constructive approach to the discussions and readiness to arrive at concrete decisions. Relating to tax agenda, digital tax agenda, there was broad support for the Estonian proposal. More than 20 member states felt that we do need a global, comprehensive solution. At the same time, echoing the minister, it is true that more than half of EU members felt that the time is running out and some sort of a temporary solution is actually needed. As one minister put it, and I think many will agree, that when traditional businesses are asked to pay their tax, they're not given extra time. So no more extra time should be wasted by governments to ensure that digital economy or digitalized economy pays taxes in the right amount and in the right place. It is necessary to point out that proponents of a quick fix, of the so-called quick fix to digital taxation problems, are also the supporters of the Estonian, the long-term solution, and they are ready to abandon the quick fix once it's no longer needed. Ministers said that a distinction must be made between tax avoidance schemes and the outdated international tax regulations. It was also stressed that this quick fix is not to derail the process, but instead to give it a greater momentum. The ministers discussed at length the risks associated with any temporary solution, but they concluded that the risks are there to be dealt with, not to prevent finding solutions. One specific risk that has to be mitigated is to make sure that the quick solution does not hamper the startup economy, which is important also for Estonia. So the experts and the Commission are now asked to speed up the work on both approaches, the quick and the long-term one, perhaps in a two-step approach, and come up with a set of Council conclusions which the ministers will then be able to adopt at the last ECOFIN meeting under the Estonian Presidency in December. For customs IT systems development, as you know, everything related to IT is extremely important to Estonia, so it is really good to see that ministers of finance had the opportunity to discuss how IT can save the costs and increase the efficiency of customs operations. Estonia is a proponent of a centralized approach, but it's only one option, and there are other alternatives. Business is, of course, interested in one reliable system rather than in 28 different systems to comply with. We are happy that a pilot project proposed by Estonia was endorsed, and this pilot of common development now has to be proposed by the experts. This pilot will clearly show the benefits and the risks of centralized IT development in the area of customs. It is important also that everyone felt that better cost efficiency in general is needed, and the experts and the Commission are now asked to collaborate on the ways to achieve that. Several important points were highlighted by the ministers, like the need for clear calculations of the costs and benefits, links between tax and customs administrations, and also risks. It is interesting that if we are talking already about transition risks from 28 to one system, then in principle it means that one system is a possibility. The Commission pointed out, and we're glad about that, that if we want a change, which is attractive and needed, we must talk about it already now. So this is why this discussion comes at a good time. We are again thankful to member states, to the Commission for support and for being open to discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dmitri. The floor is yours, Vice President Dombrovskis.
Thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank Estonian Presidency for these 2 productive days here in Tallinn. We welcome the Estonian Presidency initiative to launch a debate in the EU on how to modernize the tax rules to take into account new business models and digitalization of the global economy. Everyone agrees that this issue raises major political and economical questions and that we need to act. It's a question about our tax revenues, it's a question of fairness and efficiency, it's also about maintaining the integrity of the single market. We need to continue to work at the global level, notably with the OECD, and find comprehensive solutions with our partners outside the EU. At EU level, the CCTB can also help to provide a long-term solution to the issue of taxing digital giants, as it would also address issues such as virtual permanent establishment. But there are also strong arguments for more immediate action. The Commission will be setting out its thinking on the way forward in a communication before the Digital Summit on the 29th of September. We will work to arrive at the common EU position by December so that we can speak in the same voice within the OECD. In parallel, we will start looking on a proposal at the EU level on the fair taxation of digital economy, in line with President Juncker's announcement in a State of the Union speech. In preparing our proposal, we will of course take into account different ideas raised by member states, including a so-called quick fix solution, such as equalization tax. We will also be mindful of international discussions this issue, and we aim to be ready with the Commission's proposal by the next spring. On customs, we welcome the fact that the Presidency puts this on the agenda. We remain convinced that the best way forward is gradually centralize our IT systems to make customs more efficient and cost-effective. There was a strong support for a pilot project to pave the way, and ministers agreed to return to this issue in November. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President. We'll now turn to questions. Please state your name and the media you work for, and to whom you address the question as well. Please, here in the middle.
Jorge Valero, Euractiv. It's a question for the Presidency, for the Minister. I think it was you or the Secretary General who said that more than 20 countries support your proposal. Will it be accurate to say that Ireland, Malta, Cyprus, Sweden, Denmark, Czech Republic, UK didn't support your initiative? And what would you do to convince them?
Aitäh küsimuse eest. Meie tänase arutelu eesmärk oligi, et saada ülevaade ja arusaam liikmesriikide nägemustest selles suunas. Ja nagu ma ütlesin, siis tegelikult sellele suunale mina nagu vastu hääli kuskil ei näinud, et me ei peaks parandama efektiivsust ja leidma siin ühiseid lähenemisi. Jah, siin võib-olla olid erinevad mõtted, kuid ma arvan, töörühmade tasemel see töö läheb edasi ja me mõned kuud hiljem näeme, kui kaugele me siin jõuame.
We take Jim there in the front.
Thanks very much. Jim Brunsden from the Financial Times. Given that doing a sort of long-term comprehensive solution would require getting support from other major economies around the world, which looks like it might be difficult. And given that doing a quick fix at European level would require unanimity because of the legal base in the EU treaties, what possibility really is there of being able to do either of them? I mean, you're presenting them as alternatives. Actually, it seems like it's on the basis of what we even saw today from ministers coming to the meeting and what they were saying on the doorstep, it might be impossible to get unanimity within the EU. So how is this ever going to work? Thank you.
Ja aitäh küsimuse eest. Nagu ma ka ennem ütlesin, et kõik olid seda meelt, et siin tuleb leida lahendus. Nüüd oli tunda, et ma julgeks öelda, peaaegu kõigi eelistus oli, et me pikaajalises perspektiivis leiaksime siin lahenduse. Mina tänan Prantsusmaad, Saksamaad, Itaaliat, Hispaaniat ja neid riike, kes on ka liitunud selle lühiajalise perspektiiviga, selle initsiatiiviga, et see pakuks, nemad pakkusid välja kiire lahenduse. Ja siin on muidugi ka tunda natuke lisaks sellise õiglustundele ka poliitilist hõngusest ju kõik tahavad näidata siin mingit kiiremat lahendust, kui jääda ootama, millal ükskord kokkuleppele jõutakse. Ja need ei pruugi lühiajaline lahendus ja pikaajaline lahendus ei pruugi tingimata olla erinevad. Nii et meie töö ongi siin, võttes aluseks tänase arutelu, need mõtted lähendada ja detsembris juba tulla välja konkreetsete ettepanekutega, mis kindlasti on selgeks ja sõnumiks ka OECD-le, kes vajab võib-olla selgust, kuhu suunas Euroopa tahab minna ja kui me seda teeme koos, siis sellest sõnumist ei saa kindlasti enam mööda vaadata. Aitäh!
Vice President, you wanted to add something as well? Or?
Well, yeah, just a couple of words. Indeed, as Minister just said, there is an agreement of everyone that we need to work on this issue and that we need to find a solution because the share of digital economy continues to increase rapidly, share of digital sales, sharing economy, and so on and so forth. So a solution must be found, and there is agreement among ministers to work towards this solution. So I would say if there is a will, there is a way.
And Dmitri, you wanted to add a few words as well?
Yes, thank you. Ministers actually spoke at length about different risks today, and they take these risks as challenges that have to be dealt with. So basically, when we deal with these risks, when we deal with these challenges on the expert level, that makes the solutions stronger. What we should be avoiding is 28 unilateral actions, because this will make Europe a horrible place to do digital business. And perhaps it's too early to say yet what is this direction. And I know that for many people, mentions of enhanced cooperation makes them a bit stiff. But still, that option is legally possible. So there are ways around this. Again, I must say that it's too early to say before the experts have been able to conclude their work.
The lady in the middle there.
Thank you, Susana Fresh, SSC Portugal. My question is for Vice President. Actually, I would like to ask you for a reaction to Standard & Poor's decision yesterday. For S&P, Portuguese debt is no longer junk, but got an investment grade, and this is, I believe, something important also for the Eurozone and European Union. What's your reaction to this? And were you somehow also surprised for this decision? Thank you.
I would say this is a very positive development. It shows that the economic recovery in Portugal is on track, that budget deficit is put on the downwards trajectory, and this is recognized by rating agencies. This will help also with lowering cost of financing and refinancing of Portugal's debt and budget deficit. So what is important at this stage is to stay on track to ensure that both budget deficit and also public debt is clearly on downwards trajectory.
Alex, down there.
Hi, thank you very much. Alex Bigman from Agence France Presse. I had a question for the Vice President and for the Finance Minister. I was just wondering, are you at all worried? I believe one of the ministers in the meeting today mentioned that they might be worried that that the quick fix solution might be seen as a provocation by the United States, and they may even step out of the OECD BEPS process because of it. I was wondering, are you worried about a U.S. reaction if we go forward with a quick fix a solution to that's targeting some of their most important companies?
Well, as you know, in the EU we are committed to the international cooperation. Would it be international cooperation on financial sector regulation or international cooperation in taxation, where we had been supporting and in many cases spearheading the advancement of OECD initiative of fight against base erosion and profit shifting. And also during today's discussions, it was very clear that we need to continue to engage with our international partners. We need to work towards a common solution. But of course, we also need to think what happens if this common solution is eluding for a time being. In this case, we think that we can also act at the EU level because it's important question, and we need to uphold this important principle that taxation should be taking place where real economic activity is taking place.
Ja aitäh, ma lisaksin omalt poolt, et Eesti eesistuja riigina toetab globaalset lahendust, aga samas me peame Euroopas ühiselt sellega jõuliselt ja kiirelt edasi minema, mis ei välista kindlasti üksteist, ja see mure on selles mõttes ka täiesti arusaadav, eks ta murenooti oli ka teistelt liikmesriikidelt kuulda.
Elodie there.
Hi, thank you. Elodie Lamer with Agence Europe. It's a question for Dmitri Jegorov. Since you're the one who's going to organize the work in the working party in the council, do you still believe, like you said in July, that we could take some provision out of CCCTB and have a totally new directive out of it? And I mean, since you always say that we should maybe try to define the permanent establishment notion, virtual permanent establishment notion, couldn't we just do it by amending ATAD, which would be, I think, quick? Thank you.
Thank you. This could be a part of a long-term solution as opposed to a quick fix. And yes, we do still believe that solving this within CCCTB as a digital CCCTB is still possible. Of course, work has to continue on the expert level together with the Commission. If that could be the first step, you know, we have a set of national rules for corporate income tax, at least 28 of them, and we have virtually no rules for tax in digital economy effectively in so many member states. So perhaps digital CCCTB is a good place to start to create new rules, not to replace the existing rules. So a direct answer to your question, yes, we still believe that that's one of the options.
Okay, we have one last question. Mark, there in the middle.
Thanks. Sorry, Mark Beberkorn, Volkskrant Netherlands. It's a question for both the Commissioner and the Minister. I'm a little bit puzzled, actually, about I think it's the second sentence of your press release. It says, you know, the ministers want to reach an agreement about a common understanding by the end of December. Does this mean, just to make it clear for me, that in December, the EU member states need to agree about a plan how to tackle taxing internet giants? Or does it mean we need to get an understanding. We need to agree about an understanding what the problem is, and later we will see what kind of a solution we can offer.
Aitäh! Meie soov on, et me jõuaksime ka juba nii kaugele, et meil oleks lahendused laua peal, kuidas edasi minna ühiselt. Aitäh!
Indeed, as Mr. Minister just said, so we really want to advance with this work, and so the idea is that Commission would come with a communication outlining different options and ways how you can address this digital taxation, and I mentioned this equation tax, which is one of the options put on table by a number of member states, but there are also other ways, so we want to outline all this thinking ahead of the digital summit, where I may imagine this will be discussed once again, and to allow to advance towards some ECOFIN conclusions in December, so to say setting the direction in which to go, how to best address this problem, so that it guides the Commission's work ahead of our proposal, which, as I was saying, we intend to put forward next spring.
We'll squeeze in the very last question here for the gentleman in the middle.
Ivo Caizzi, Corriere della Sera. Everybody has understood that the first option on the table is to find an agreement at 28 for the web tax. But I would like to ask to the Vice President if in the proposal that you are preparing, you will include also the possibility of the enhanced cooperation with all the technicalities that come with this option. And I would like to ask to the Presidency if you are ready to work on the alternative of an enhanced cooperation, considering that the experience says that countries, member states that have tax haven regimes generally try to slow down the process of new rules on this issue.
From the Commission perspective, the preferred solution is clearly to have an agreement at the EU 28 level, because I was mentioning many elements why we think it's important to have an EU-wide approach on this digital taxation, including preserving the integrity of the single market. And it was already outlined, and it also came up very clearly during the ministers' discussions, that if already now member states seek solution to the problems, they come with unilateral solutions. It's a direct taxation, it's member states' right, but this may then fragment the internal market, and we may have more difficulties to reach our ambition of digital single market. So that's clearly why our preferred option is agreement at EU 28 level. But as some of the colleagues already outlined, well, the enhanced cooperation is certainly a legally possible option. But first we will really seek agreement at EU level.
Yeah. Ja ma võib-olla lisaksin siin Valdisele, et on ka alternatiiv, et iga riik ise kehtestab maksud, mis ma arvan, et ei ole kõige parem lahendus. Selles mõttes on hea, kui me leiaksime siin ühise keele ja saame aru, et see võiks olla ühtne eelistatult globaalselt, aga võib-olla, kui see võtab aega, siis Euroopa tasemel.
Thank you very much. This concludes this press conference, and that marks the end of this informal meeting of ECOFIN in Tallinn. Thank you very much for coming, and I wish you a nice remainder of this weekend.